Chapter 5, Crisis Core Reunion. Hard walkthrough. We're going into some missions here. We're facing another Vaj. The greatest name for an enemy, I think we can all agree. I've got a little bit of confidence coming into this one though, because I killed the one that kept one-hitting me with his special move. So hopefully we'll be able to clean him up pretty well. It'd be really nice if you could use those Y commands to interrupt those specials like you can do any other move in the game. But it seems like they didn't want you to have that much power, which I can understand. I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like those moves where you have the bar to interrupt it, I feel like making those hit scan instead of giving us an opportunity to actually dodge them would have been a lot better. Because I don't mind losing because my timing's bad, but I hate losing because you didn't give me an opportunity to try it. And speaking of, I'm gonna take this because I have null physical on or something. I think that's because of what Ares did. If it wasn't for Ares, guys, I was dead. Did you see that just then? He did his one attack. It did 1300 damage. I guarantee you, the move we just guarded probably was hitting for anywhere between 4,000 to 8,000 damage. And even if I stacked every single vitality piece of equipment, even if I put all my stat increasements to vitality, I would not be able to take that hit. Because I just don't have the gear. It's just the simple truth of it. And here we go, Neo Bahama again. And we're going to do the same thing, guys, even though technically it's called Bahama Fury, which I apologise for the sticklers. This guy reminds me of Neo Bahama, you know what I mean. And I'm using the big one, so I'm going to jump this as it happens. Jumping these to iframe them is a little tricky at first, but once you get the timing, it's free. Hopefully you'll see more of his moveset, but I'm just going to stun him again. Boom, there you go. And then I'm going to cancel into the Rush Assault. It's only level 1, so it won't do too much, but this guy just doesn't have the life to stand up to us now. And now we're out in the snow, which is cool. As we go on our way to, is it Nibbletown? Everybody's favourite, Nibelheim. When I think of snow, though, in Final Fantasy VII, I always think of the area where Wutai is. Not Wutai, sorry, what's it called? Damn, I don't know the name. You know the northern town with the snowboarding place? Somebody knows it. What is that place called? Damn. I'm a fraud, guys. I've never played Final Fantasy VII. Anyhow, we've got a Replicon, which is a really, really fast ostrich enemy that's weak to both fire and ice. And as long as you can kill them effectively, you can keep all your statistics up and make yourself nice and healthy for the rest of this sequence. I love this environment. I really like navigating this game. I think they have a fantastic framework here to make something really special. Like, all they need to do is get rid of all the transitions, because it's not a PSP title anymore. Get rid of all the weird transitions. You know, give us something to do here that's not just running around. Give us things to interact with. Give us a little bit of platforming maybe, or some navigational stuff. I'm not asking for crazy puzzles. I'm just asking for, turn this into a bit more of an adventure, and you have yourself a really, really cool property that Square could play with. But you know what Square are like. They don't tend to make the games they should make. They make weird things, and then they ruin the things that should be free and clear winners. But the problem is everybody loves them anyway, that everybody tells them they're doing great things. And it doesn't make any sense to me. This company, back on the PS1, was untouchable. They made the greatest JRPGs in existence, then they fused with the other company making the greatest JRPGs in existence, and they somehow have managed to not make any fucking great JRPGs now that they're working together. And I just don't understand it. It just bugs me on such a fundamental level. How did we go from every game on PS1 being a banger, most of the games on PS2 being a banger, to a handful of good ones on like Xbox 360, and then nothing but absolute tepid dog shit? I just don't understand it. Like, it reminds me of FIFA back in the day. You know, FIFA was the best sports game for a long time, and then Superstar Soccer turned into Pro Evolution Soccer, and it just stole the title because it was better, and FIFA got lazy. And it forced them to develop, it forced them to improve, and then it was a back and forth, and it was a lot more competitive. And now, does Pro Evolution Soccer even exist? I feel like Konami, I think it was Konami that published it, I feel like it just fell off and FIFA took the title back. And who knows, maybe FIFA's being fucking lazy now because they don't need to because there's no competition, but I feel like that's what Square did, dude. They bought out the competition, and then they didn't do much. And of course, they've released games. They've released a dozen games I care very little about. But it's hard to argue, isn't it? When this company was on the PlayStation 1, everything they touched was gold. You can't say that now, unless you're some weird rampant fanboy, and, you know, you probably like anything if you're that. Because that's the whole point of being a fanboy, isn't it? There's just no critical thinking. There's no moment to take a second and go, hang on a second, this is a wet bucket of dog shit. Why am I drinking it? You know, why do I think this dog shit's cake? It's not cake. But I ran all the way down there to see what it was, and it was an X potion, so you can imagine right now I'm not happy. That's the reason why I'm hugging the walls. And traditionally in a JRPG, an X potion's a good thing because it's a really good healing item, but I'm not using items in this run, that's the whole point of this run. So you will not see me using that X potion, sadly, but you will see me spending it, potentially, if I leave that menu in. Because you know the great thing about not using healing items on a JRPG is if you ever need money, you have it. Because they give you so much of that shit, it's easy to get rid of. But we're coming up here on the first difficulty spike as well, true difficulty spike of the game, which is the fight against Genesis. And it's a bad one, guys. This fight is bad. It's so bad. Because you don't do much damage, and he turns into such a bitch at the end. So the idea is, when he runs away, he's either going to put physical defense on or magical defense on. And depending on what he does, depends on how you want to hurt him. And if you stay at a distance from him, you can dodge most things with movement. Anything that can't be dodged with movement, you can then add a beautiful jump to get safety. And if you don't like a move and you want to stop it, do what I did just then. And if he does Black Feathers is the hardest move to dodge, because you have to get some distance and you have to jump late. But if you jump correctly, you'll get around it. The only reason this is hard is because we don't have enough MP to be consistently damaging. So you have to play kind of passive, and that's what I'm doing here. You notice how I'm just using physical attacks? But we get the poison on him, he does the magic defense. This is a free opportunity to attack if you take it. His combo is not too bad. I'm dispelling his defense, but the problem is when you dispel stuff, he tends to just immediately cast it anyway. But usually, when you do that, you can get a bunch of dunks on him. Like I did then, a bunch of different blizzards doing lots of damage. But I'm running out of MP, and here's Black Feather, so wait for it, then jump. And then regen. If you can't dispel the regen, you'll be here forever. It's just not cool, dude. They do this a lot as well, and then he did defense, which means I can't even do physical now, which is really annoying. There's Dark Energy, you can run around that. Not a big deal. Here's his combo, 1, 2, boom, there's the end of it. That was his weird parry stance. And then Black Feather again, boom, jump, easy life, there's Squall. I say Squall, bloody hell, Freudian slip, there's, there's Cloud. And what we're going to do is I'm either going to do it on the end of a combo like I just did then, or I'm going to use it to get rid of something that he's doing that I don't like. So if he was casting regen, I could have shut regen down. If he was casting that, I could have shut that down as well. But those castings are so quick, it might not have even worked. But we got Cloud again, which is really, really handy, because this is good damage, this level 3. I'm not going to scoff at it. It's way more damage than I can do. But he's got a lot of HP. Here's his combo, boom. There's Black Feather. And then he does Dark Energy again, so we get a free Blizzaga on him. And then I level up my Blizzaga. I've just made it as well, you can tell. I leveled Blizzaga, I turned it into Dark Blizzaga. And here's defense, you can whack him when he does this. But now I don't have the MP to dispel him, so this is where this fight goes from being actually semi-decent speed-wise, not great, but not bad, into I can't really hurt him. I don't have any MP to hit him with magic, and if I hit him with normal attacks, they're not going to do a lot of damage. But the skills still will do damage. And the damage is not complete dog shit, and it's worn off now anyway, so I can attack him again. But he puts it on immediately, look at this. Just keeps putting it on. And I don't understand why you would program a boss that can keep doing that. Like this guy, as soon as it runs out that square on him, with the defense, with those boxes in it, he casts it again. And I'm waiting for it to run out so I can come in, do a few attacks, and he casts it again. And it just, to me, that's just lame. This guy should only be able to cast this at certain intervals. He shouldn't just be able to rinse and repeat. It's stupid. Look at him, immediately. And sorry, you do terrible damage when you attack it. You do no damage, it neutralizes you completely. And all I'm waiting for here, guys, is for the slot machine to give me infinite MP so I can dump on him with Blizzaga. or I'm waiting for it to cool down so I can come in and attack him. And we've gone from me dominating this fight to me not even being able to hurt him now. Because of shitty JRPG bullshit. And look at it, it's just fucking lame. It makes me really salty as well because this game is so good and then every so often you bump into this evil bullshit. It reminds me of fucking when you're on the moon in Final Fantasy IV, I think it is, where you come up against that fucking Ahriman and he casts Doom on you and then he casts Haste on you and you die in like 2 turns. It's just evil. Really fucking evil design that's gimmicky as fuck and it winds me up. It makes more sense back then though because there weren't really much you could do. So they wanted to come up with something dangerous and deadly and they didn't want it to be just the same fight as all the other fights you'd done. Whereas this is just, why can he do this? He's not interesting enough. Here we go. Now he's fucking dead. Soon as he stands still, dude. Soon as he stands still. Look at that. What a difference a day makes. Unbelievable, right? That fight's dog shit. Fuck you, Genesis. You suck ass. But this level's really cool. I love the snow. I love the ice as well. Visually, this game looks superb all considered. I think they did a really good job. As we go through Modioheim. Is that where we are? Modioheim? I don't remember that name. Modioheim. Sounds like somewhere fucking Kratos found Atreus. It's where the magic golden egg came from, isn't it? That turned into his child. It's where his wife went to lay the egg before she painted all that shit on everything to tell you where to go. But we got a couple of replicons here. These guys are bees. Just drop some Blizzaga on them and get on with our life. It seems like I'm leaning pretty hard on Blizzaga, and it's just because I'm trying to level it up. Some of the other stuff I was using in the missions that you haven't seen, because I've trimmed some of them out so the videos aren't too long. In those ones, I was leveling the other ones. You saw them a bit more, but they didn't make the video, sadly. These videos were going to be a lot longer, actually, guys. I was going to share everything pretty much, but then it didn't resonate with my audience. So if you're watching it right now, again, I'd just like to thank you because it's cool that you're engaging. I had a lot of fun playing this. This was definitely my surprise JRPG of the year, I think. Because I thought I was going to dislike this like I disliked the remake. And I played One Piece Odyssey recently, and I was really looking forward to that game. And then after playing it for about an hour, the story went back to the like first arc of the fucking manga, and it completely killed all drive and want to play the game. So I was so excited to play One Piece because I love that franchise, and I really like JRPGs. I was curious to see what they were going to do. And before I knew where I was in Alabasta talking about Crocodile, and I'm sorry, dude, but no. That's not how that fucking works, man. I was excited to go on an adventure with new characters and a new story and going new directions, and before I know it, I'm everywhere I've already been. Like, I was reading about Alabasta fucking 20 years ago. It's just nonsense, dude. I've got the mangas behind me that I bought 20 years ago. It's so... it just makes me mad, that. Oh, by the way, this Griffin is like Plot Griffin, so he's tanky as fuck. And you know how I said that Genesis was really bad? Angeal's really bad as well. Angel was so dense. He was like every scene in the Phantom Menace that I had to go back into the dungeons and do some missions to try and get some better equipment because I just could not keep up with how tanky he was. And he does a dashing move that's really hard to dodge. And I didn't see this one coming at all. I just thought that maybe Genesis was a one-off, but it turns out, no, this guy's a bitch too. But once I think there was a piece of equipment. There was a certain accessory that I put on that made it a lot easier. I can't remember now which it was, of course, which is terrible for a walkthrough, but fortunately, you're probably watching this as a bit of an inspiration, or maybe as just like a reference, and you're playing the game your own way, you're taking your time, you've got tons of gear, you've done all the missions, you're having a good time. And that's how you should play, guys. If you're wondering, if you're new to this and being like, I can't do this game, it's too hard, I keep dying. If you're dying because you're playing like me, you're doing it wrong. Because you shouldn't play like this. You know, this is what you do when you've played a lot of JRPGs. I grew up on these games, you know. It's all I used to do back in the day. PS1, I was a JRPG main. Whereas now, I don't play them as much. They don't really resonate with the channel, and they're kind of hard to do because they're long. And they work on Twitch, which is why we do them on Twitch. Like, I did a full playthrough of Final Fantasy VII, which is on Twitch, from start to finish, in its entirety. It's over there on my collections if you want to go and check it out. The same way I did Final Fantasy VIII on YouTube and Final Fantasy X. I've also done half of Suikoden 2, which we're looking to finish at some point when I can remember to do that. That game's amazing if you've never played that game. But we've got these dogs, the hounds. I always remember the hounds because, I mean, these guys look a little different, but in the remake, there's a fight against a bunch of those hounds, and it's one of the hardest fights in the game because it's just not well designed. And now we're back in the missions. This mission's pretty tough as well. This little shit, this Wu-Tai Sergeant, he will one-hit kill you, and if he steals your lock-on like he's doing right now, where you try and hit him and you keep on hitting the Vag dude because he's massive, the massive Vag keeps getting in the way of the little man. It's just the worst story ever because you need to focus this dude, and if he does his move, he's really hard to interrupt. And again, we're going to use the same thing, guys. We're going to do attacks into strings, and then we're going to go into jump for safety, or movement, or rolling, depending on position. We're also going to pray that he doesn't do the move that I can't stop. And we're also going to hope that the DMV roulette is going to be kind. But here we go. Boom. Big hit. I'm not stopping this. There's no way, right? No. 25% damage. What does it do? Watch this. 1,000 damage. That wasn't bad, actually. Wasn't bad at all. I wouldn't have survived it at full speed, or full strength. But that's okay. Sometimes you need to get lucky in this game, guys. That's one of the areas I don't like personally, but it's one of the areas that can make an experience a lot easier for you than it is for someone else. Because if you get good spins, you can do this shit and be invincible the whole time. It's really weird, that. But we get him. That's all that matters. And then there's another one. This one is a different version, though. This is the Rakshasa one. He uses this strange kind of tetro... What is that? Dodecahedron or something? That has a lot of sides. It's a mace, fundamentally. It's a flail, technically, I guess. And if he hits you with it, it does a lot of damage. But we have infinite MP right now, so we're going to spam the shit out of him. And the only real threat is if he uses his unique. If he uses his desperation move, we're dead. This really hurts as well. Do not get hit by this. But there goes Rakshasa. See you later, buddy. Now we've just got a sweeper who's called Needle Machine. And apparently he's weak to ice. He's really weak to ice. And then we've got another version of the Needle Machine. He's called Chainsaw with one of the Rumbas. This guy's weak to lightning. He's trying to silence me for some reason. It's a very silly thing to do. Fucking Palpatine, son. Then we got a couple of gargoyles in a cave. We haven't seen these guys yet. One of the things I really love about this game is seeing these modern interpretations on the classic enemies. And you can tell I'm using better spells here, guys. I think we've got to the hell stuff here. Because I just stopped that dude with one of my moves. Just by virtue of using it, because it's got all the status effects. And then we've got this Tri-Slasher guy, this Deathclaw. Isn't it funny that he's in this game? And if you remember, he's in Final Fantasy VIII as well, because I remember him from being one of the claws. Bloody hell. One of the cards, sorry. Brain fart. I'll keep that one in. Because in 8, he's big, isn't he? He's like a walrus. He's like a standing walrus with claws, and I think it's the same creature, just a vastly different design. I love that. It's one of the things that Souls really, really frustrates me with, because instead of redesigning the same guys and having a nice homage with a different visual flair, they literally design something that looks different, and they give it the moves of something you've killed 1,000 times. And I think they do it badly. I talk about a concept a lot when it comes to Souls, especially Elden Ring, which is the idea of when does homage become redundancy? And the worst feeling in the world, Yakuza suffers from this as well. When you play Yakuza and you do everything, I'm talking everything, guys, all the side missions, you do them on, you do the missions, you do the hardest difficulty, you do the no damage, you do it all, right? You learn the patterns in that game. You learn what the enemies do, you learn what the guys in the Colosseum do, you learn the bosses. And then you play the next Yakuza, and you see them all again. So you'll be fighting a jobber on a street who's wearing a bin liner, and he's got a boss's move from a different game. So if you play all the Yakuza games, you see the repeated movesets. And at first, it's really cute, it's really awesome, it's a nice homage. And then eventually, it starts to grate. It starts to hit a wall where you kind of go, hang on a second, this is my 7th game, and it's the 7th time I've seen that. At this point, are we really homaging, or are we getting fucking lazy? And I hate to say it about Yakuza because I love the series, but you have to agree, guys, that there comes a point where Shouldn't you just make new things? If you keep showing us old things, we're going to be like those dudes that constantly talk about when they were great. You haven't been great for 20 years, DSP, and even then, you were the fucking 4th loser, dude. That's not good. Stop fucking gloating. It also makes you seem racist as well, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter that the only people that beat you were Japanese players. You got beaten by other players, end of story. Why does it have to matter where someone comes from, dude? Just makes you sound weird. And you're already fucking weird. We don't need any help there. But I just wonder, you know, when something comes back, like right now, we've seen a lot of this Vaj enemy. This is the Indra version. He's the same monster, he's just a different colour. This is a classic JRPG trope from back when hardware was limited. These monsters, you know, you couldn't fit millions of monsters on those cartridges, so you had to get creative and use the same assets and change the colours, you know? That's okay 30 years ago. That doesn't fly now. And that's one of my big issues with Elden Ring / Souls. You come up against a monster and it's literally a monster from every other game. And it looks a bit different, so you kind of go, oh wow, this guy looks cool. And then he does the exact same move that you've seen thousands of times. And what it leads to is the problem that Ubisoft faced when they ubiquitized everything they've made. Ubisoft turned all their games into essentially the same interface, the same visual aesthetic, the same world. So when you turn those games on, you inherit fatigue. You inherit hundreds and thousands of hours of playing their franchises. And it's on a new game, and instead of going, wow, this new game's cool, you go, oh my god, I'm so fucking bored, I feel like I've done this before. Because you have. That's what Souls does with its movesets. It starts off as a really nice homage to something from a previous game, and then slowly but surely, the more you put time into it, it turns into, this is literally the same move that the Dredgelings had in Demon's Souls in 2009. And I'm sorry, but there comes a point where you don't see that as cute anymore. You know, like when you're with somebody, and they're funny, and then funny starts to become annoying real fucking quick. It's like that. And I just want new things, dude. I want more. And from now, I've made so much money with Elden Ring, there's no excuse to just regurgitate their entire fucking legacy of work again. Because that's what Elden Ring feels like at times. It feels like a collection of everything they've ever done, dumped into an open world where there's not much to find, there's not much to do, and if you try to kill something, you've already beat it in 4 other games. And I hate to say that because I love Elden Ring. It's a great game. But there's days when I don't like it because of its design. But here is the Angel of Penance. This is Angeal. We're going to be using so many things here to get through this because this is a tanky boy, ladies and gentlemen. Even with hell versions of spells, this guy's beefy as fuck. We can stop his move though, and that's all that matters. The only problem is this charge. That charge is so active, if you jump when it starts, when you come down he'll hit you. You have to get away from it and jump late. I do a pretty good job of dodging it up until I don't. And if you get lucky, it won't kill you. If you get unlucky, you'll get wrecked. Oh, that's what I did, guys. I think it was darkness. So I'd managed to not pick up darkness through my playthrough as soon as I needed to. I don't know why that was, it just sometimes it happens that way. And if you don't know, darkness hurts your health, but it does, like, is it non-physical, non-magical damage? So it's almost like gravity. And what happens is, if there's an enemy that you can't hurt with all the shit you're doing, if you do darkness, it'll hurt it. And I don't know if this was the fight where darkness became real good, but there are 2 moves that will carry you through this game. One of them is Graviga, or Graviga, or whatever it's called, Gravity. The other one is darkness. If it cannot be injured, if you do not have an option, try darkness, try gravity. Those are your 2 trump cards. And if you use it in chorus with everything else, you'll hopefully just kick ass. But I like this boss a lot. There's a lot of stuff to dodge. I just don't like the charge. If he didn't have the charge, I'd have no problem with this fight. Like, look at the damage on that. So good. So the wing move again, very similar to the Dark Feathers, but there's 2 barrages. Oh, we get the level 5 meteorite. Really good. Is he healing? Oh my god. Does anybody else get as annoyed at me as when enemies heal in games? I only like enemies to heal in games when there's a compelling reason as to why they can. And there has to be a counterplay to it that's powerful enough to kind of mitigate it if you're clever. Like, I can't stand when an enemy can just be like, yeah, I'm healing, fuck you. Oh no! That looked like Flashdance. You see that? I say Flashdance, I mean Flash move. Flashdance is a very fantastic movie. Very fantastic is not good English. Very fantastic. 2 thumbs up. I think that's the end of the video, that, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologise for assassinating the English language, but sometimes you've got to do it. Thank you for watching, and you take care now.